Last season, Birmingham City absolutely demolished League One. They accumulated 111 points, scored 84 goals, just losing 3 times across a 46-game season. Before we identify the ways they could tactically destroy the Championship and dissect the additions they've made so far this summer, I think it's crucial we take a look at the story so far and what got them to this point with the mind-blowing numbers that they accumulated along the way, because they were pretty impressive. Their last appearance in the Championship was certainly one to forget for Birmingham City. After 7 seasons of relegation near misses, it was finally the campaign they were demoted into League One. From questionable managerial decisions to a damaging lack of direction, something needed to change, a change that needed to happen in a division they hadn't competed in for 30 years. And non-Birmingham fans, I can see you're already drafting that comment below about the spending power, because they did spend. Oh, they absolutely did, but they did it with a crystal clear objective of building a squad that wouldn't just climb out of League One, but join the Championship with an abundance of momentum and muscle. And whether you like it or not, they achieved exactly that. And by no means am I underestimating the power of a spending spree of over £30 million in England's third tier. But I am interested in uncovering how that investment was translated into a side that eased the division and is now ready to go again in the Champ. Let's talk briefly about the style of last season, because it was pretty impressive. And as Chris Davies said over a year before he joined at St Andrews, controlling the game will always be central to my philosophy. And he wasn't wrong, because last season Birmingham blew every team out of the water when it came to ball retention numbers. They averaged 66.9% possession, over 10% more than Bolton, who had the second highest. And when we delve into the finer details of those passing numbers, it goes from being seriously impressive to slightly ridiculous. Out of 22,702 Birmingham passes last season, 18,901 were successful. Obviously, that was the highest in both of those metrics, and it gave them a passing accuracy of 83%. That's not just in their own half, that's also in the opposition half as well. Let that sink in. That's an absolute joke. And let's come back to the idea that after attempting over 4,000 more passes than anybody else in the league, they still top the table for being most accurate. And accurate is the word I think is really, really important within all of this. That is elite level execution. It's increasing quantity without sacrificing quality. That's next level stuff, something that Championship clubs are going to be absolutely petrified of. If you've watched this channel before, you'll know we have this conversation time and time again. It's about control and dominance being different things. One isn't more important than the other, but the powerful combination of the two is what brings success. Control is the intricate, slow build-up from the back, whilst dominance is the threat a team has in the most dangerous zones of the pitch. Zone 14, the chance creation zones, the shots on goal, ultimately the output. So let's take a look at those metrics and see if they disappointed last season. I can tell you right now, a minor hint for you, they bloody well don't. In League One last season, the Blues accumulated the highest expected goals, the most big chances created, and subsequently scored the most goals in the division. So they absolutely combined the two successfully. They were totally a different animal. This point is actually reinforced further statistically too when we delve into the passing sequence numbers of their League One season. Birmingham completed the most 10-plus pass sequences in the division with 594. For context, that was 227 more than the team with the next most. As for passes per sequence and average sequence time, they also ranked top. First, the opposition didn't just lose the ball, they didn't get it back for a ridiculous amount of time. That's pretty bloody relentless. And on the topic of passing, it looks as though Tommy Doyle could be on his way to Birmingham this summer. And the question I want to answer is why and where does he fit? Iwata and Piak were sensational last season. The double pivot were a sight to behold. And quite frankly, no other Birmingham midfielder could make their way into the side on a consistent basis. So why bring in Tommy Doyle from Wolves, and what does he add that's different? Over the last few seasons, it's quite difficult to judge Doyle statistically. He's only started 14 Premier League matches and he's played in a various number of different midfield roles during that period. His season heat maps from the last 2 Premier League campaigns show him operating often in his own half, but also venturing into advanced areas as an attacking number 8 too. So straight away, one of Doyle's evident strengths is that central versatility. To have a proper look at Doyle, though, I think we need to go back to the 22-23 championship season when he was on loan at Sheffield United. He finished that season with 7 goal involvements, and the standout trait during that period was certainly his on-the-ball qualities. So we talk about the technical abilities that are so important in this Chris Davies team. Well, he ticks those boxes because this desire to create from the central areas of the pitch were very, very common during his time with Sheffield United a couple of seasons ago at this level. He averaged 1.3 key passes per 90, created 35 chances in just 21 starts, and his desire to drive from midfield was impressive too, completing 15 successful dribbles, and in the Premier League last season, a dribble success rate of over 83%. I also think as much as the signing of Doyle is about adding even further technical ability to the squad, but I also think the exposure of Premier League football should also bring elements of increased physicality to the mix as well. So I really like the blend of that recruitment. There's certainly lots of exciting pieces. Can they bring it together with Tommy Doyle and nail down one role? Because he's played in various different roles and got some really, really strong attributes in a lot of them. And that actually leads us really nicely onto something else. The often overlooked part of Birmingham's dominance last season, and that's the grueling work out of possession. I think Tommy Doyle could come in handy there too. I think there's a common misconception that just because a team is so strong with the ball, their work without it doesn't matter and it can be forgotten about. I can tell you at Birmingham, especially, that just isn't the case. And we're going to see more of that relentless play in the Championship this season. I truly believe that. As much as a Chris Davies side is characterised around purposeful possession, and we spoke about that quote earlier on in the video, their intensity against the ball stood out all of last season. Although the diagram by the analyst didn't show the 99 high turnovers Birmingham racked up since February of last season, it does visualise just how many times they look to win the ball high and limit the amount of time the opposition have on the ball. Davies' side won the ball back in the final third on average 4.7 times per 90. Across the whole season, the Blues took 55 shots following high turnover wins, limiting the opposition to an average of just 8 passes per sequence that are made 40 metres or less from their goal. Essentially, they don't allow for much breathing space. This is extreme counter pressing. Of course, this point can be looked at in other ways too. As much as winning the ball high can benefit Birmingham's attacking prospects, it also prevents the opponent from building or sustaining any kind of threatening pressure. The Blues faced the fewest number of touches inside their own box in League One last season, comfortably conceding the lowest expected goals and, most importantly, conceded the least number of actual goals too, which again is the all-important stat. Forget the XG nonsense. The most important metric is the goals against, and they were bottom for that. Now, we've lifted the lid on one side of Birmingham City's approach, but I've got a sneaky feeling, based on the additions so far and the names linked, Chris Davies is looking to add crucial layers to his Championship tactics. In fact, he said it himself, "I want a degree of tactical flexibility to adapt to different opponents and different situations." I think it's more about evolving the approach rather than resolving it. They don't want to lose the identity that worked so well for them in League One last season, but they can't be predictable. And that's why I think we're going to see a slightly stronger transitional side of Birmingham, along with that fancy possession stuff that, of course, they are sublime at as well. Interestingly, last season, Birmingham attempted 23 fast breaks, which was the second fewest in League One. I think that number will dramatically increase this season, especially when we dive a little bit deeper into the recruitment focus we've seen from Birmingham so far this summer. The first name I want to touch on is Demarai Gray, the homecoming of the winger that is Demarai Gray, because this guy is built for a counter-attack. He did it week in, week out in the Premier League for both Leicester and Everton. Now, these screenshots are probably one of the most well-known Demarai Gray moments in the Premier League and absolutely epitomises the transitional threat that he possesses. There's been a lot of talk about Demarai Gray and what he is all about as a signing for Birmingham. Well, I'm going to try and tell you because I think I've cracked the code. In this first screenshot, he's demanding the ball in his own half. He receives it and only has one intention, and that's to progress the ball up the pitch as quickly as possible and force Manchester City to chase. The final screenshot shows him working his way into the box and sticking it into the top bins. I mean, the finish is an absolute joke, but this idea of getting the ball up the pitch is so overlooked in football sometimes, I feel, especially if you're looking to relieve pressure and even catch the opposition off guard defensively by moving the ball up the pitch using that brilliant technical ability that we know Demarai Gray has. The opposition defence is stretched and naturally space is being created for teammates to exploit. During his best season in the Premier League for Everton, he sat in the top 4% for successful dribbles, completing a total of 55, averaging 1.6 per 90. He also finished that season with 9 goal involvements and 42 chances created too. As well as Demarai Gray, it's been reported Bright Osayi-Samuel could also be on his way to St Andrews this summer. And again, we're talking about 2 crucial attributes to this adapted approach. The focus once again is on pace and being naturally athletic. Last season, Christophe Clara was absolutely immense. I had the pleasure of interviewing him in person, and something I will say is his tactical knowledge blew me away. On the pitch, though, no other defender in League One touched the ball on more occasions or made more successful passes. It is evidently clear that Birmingham's Championship backline will be built around him, and I think it's going to be alongside the new man from Germany, Phil Newman. Both Ben Davies and Christian Bielik shared duties alongside Clara in that Birmingham backline last season, but I come back to the point I made earlier. I feel Chris Davies, as he adapts and changes things slightly ahead of their Championship season, he's adjusting the profile and is now looking for more athletic options in those key areas. And Newman, well, he is certainly athletic. He's quick. He is strong on the ball. In the Bundesliga 2 last season, the ball playing and ball carrying German defender registered over 1,200 successful passes and 16 successful dribbles. That's more than Bielik and Davies combined. He was also a regular threat in the opposition's box too, racking up 12 shots on target and a total of 17 chances created. Remember, he's a central defender. That's going to be a problem for Championship teams defending next season. He's a proper all-rounder, and next to the Rolls Royce that is Christophe Clara, the defensive duo, well, they look well and truly Championship ready. So it's fair to say Birmingham, well, they're not just arriving back into the Championship casually after 1 year away. Their generous budget allows them to attract and afford players who fit into their evolving identity, but also bring the key ingredient of athletic power that I believe is a non-negotiable in England's second team, and something that Chris Davies and the recruitment team are already well and truly aware of. Although their ruthless style that we spoke about in this video won't and shouldn't change, hopefully we've highlighted the areas that may adapt as the season unfolds, whether that be the continued use of the patient control we saw so often in League One, the relentless work out of possession, or the introduction of fast transitional play. This is a team coached by a manager built to adapt, built to evolve, and ultimately, it seems, still built to win. Let's see. Take a look, subscribe, and I'll see you very soon. Take care.